Hello, my name is Rick Boulay, and I'm the president of Killeen Educators Association and of Region 10 of the Texas State Teachers Association. I'd like to welcome you to our Killeen ISD School Board of Trustees Candidate Forum. I'm very pleased to be your moderator for today's discussion. Enshrined in the Constitution is one of the most important functions that we can perform: our ability to select the officials that make the decisions on how the district operates through our vote. It's through this process that we make our voices and wishes known as to how we wish the education of our children to ultimately proceed in Killeen ISD. The level of material support the district provides, the quality and condition of its facilities, the safety of its buses and equipment, how its educators and support professionals are compensated and treated in the workplace. All of these things and more are provided through the election of those serving on the Board of Trustees. We're here to have a conversation with those who are seeking positions on the board for places 6 and 7. Our goal is to learn more about their stances on positions that directly impact students and those who help make their education possible, how they think, and how they would approach the challenges that face KISD as we continue into the future. We encourage you to listen to their responses as many times as you need and give careful consideration to whom you wish to lead the district forward. Most of all, we highly encourage you to use your power to vote. A voice that remains silent is a voice that gives up control over its fate. We want you, the viewer, to know that the questions for tonight's conversation were selected in advance. All the questions will be put to all the candidates to answer so that you may make your own comparisons and draw your own conclusions. The Executive Board of Killeen Educators Association has not made any decisions regarding potential endorsements and will not make them prior to the conclusion and publishing of this forum in its entirety. The next question, which we'll start with Ms. Carter, kind of similar. What's your position on using student test scores in evaluating a teacher's performance? Not necessarily based on incentive allotments per se, because I know that's a new topic that's coming to the fore, but in terms of teacher performance overall, in terms of their evaluation, what is your position on using student test scores in evaluating that teacher's performance? Ms. Carter, we'll start with you.
Sorry, I'm against the idea of doing that because, it's just unfair if you think about it, because you know what, if one teacher gets the GT students versus one teacher gets the students that are, lower performing or at risk, that's not fair. You have to think about that. And again, you've got some kids that have test anxiety. I think that also pits teachers against teachers. I just think that that's just a negative idea. And that puts too much emphasis again on testing results, STAR testing, just any type of district testing. It just puts too much emphasis on data, just the results of a test on any given day. Like I said, because each, and the teachers they do not get to decide what kid is going into their classroom. It's just, that's out of their hands. So I don't think it's fair to sit there and say, okay, you know what, your kids are doing great. 97% of them passed, but teacher B over here, only 80% of her kids passed. I don't think it's fair to sit there and say, well, maybe, she's a better teacher because 97% of her kids passed, because that's not necessarily true. There's a lot of variables that go into, into that. So it's not really, clean cut and clear.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Adams?
It's still the same as before. Not a fan of the test. I'm okay with the test assessing the student's ability, but not, I'm not a fan of the test assessing whether the teacher does that. Because again, like Ms. Carter said, and I'm sure everyone else will say it, that if it's not going to be fair to every teacher that received the higher performing or the better performing students that do great on tests. And I think we go back to some of the other ways where we evaluated how teachers perform kind of directly, not just off of the exam.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Mills?
Kind of, what I touched on earlier as far as is the funding, I don't love the idea that the teacher evaluations are tied strictly to a test. And so I think we've got to find ways to identify how kids, when they come into the classroom, where are they? And then address the needs of how can we get them to where we want them to be. And it's about progress throughout that school year with these kids. And so it's not necessarily about, okay, I'm going to teach you A, B, C, and D, and then we're going to test you on it. We have to understand the individual needs of each learner in every one of our classrooms, and we have to find a way to teach to them. And I believe that begins with evaluating them when you first get them in that classroom. You know, and as far as the incentive pay that was discussed, you know, at this last school board meeting, you know, it wasn't all directly tied to, you know, to testing and how students performed on the test. There was a formula involved. And so we need to come up with a way across the district, a standardized way to evaluate these teachers. You know, if we allow each campus and each the administrators at each campus to come up with their own way, again, there could be some bias involved, but we have to come up with a standardized way to evaluate our teachers. And I don't know that it's fair, again, for to be evaluated on one day when we're in school for 9 or 10 months for one day to determine the outcome of a teacher's performance.
Thank you, Ms. Purser. You get to finish this one off.
Okay, well, I don't believe that a teacher's or an educator's performance should be based on that. However, there are pockets of our community, there are school district campuses that are really struggling, whether it be a grade level or whether that be the entire district, the campus. If there is a way that we can incentivize the best and the brightest and the most stellar teachers to go to those campuses and help raise the confidence level and the education value and level for those students, I don't know why we wouldn't want to do that. There are some teachers that are very satisfied and very happy where they are, but if they are incentivized, they might want to try to teach and educate a group of students that are really struggling. And I do think that we need to try to do this. I don't think it will pit teacher against teacher, you know, colleague against colleague. What I do think it is going to do, though, is when they realize, hey, I'm receiving more money because I'm able to do this skill and you're capable of doing the same thing, I think they're going to be sharing and collaborating with other educators to help the entire grade level or the entire campus achieve greater scores on their campus and have a greater outcome for those students. So I think it will bring more collaboration, actually. And I think, you know, they're kind of you know, they're comrades. They want to help each other. They're not out there to get against each other. They want all teachers to make more money. And I think if they have the key and the ability and they know other teachers that have that same ability and teaching style or, again, ability, I think they're going to help each other gain that greater salary. And so I'm really looking forward to putting together this program and helping teachers get more money because they've got a certain skill that is going to help accelerate the learning ability of some very challenging students.